Good day everyone! I am Jubilee Ramos and welcome to this video lecture. For today's lesson, we will discuss the cognitive learning theory. Disclaimer: all the photos and videos used in this video lecture are used for academic purposes only and belong to their rightful owner. For our objective, at the end of the lesson, the students should be able to relate the theories of learning to learner-centered teaching. Before we start our discussion proper, first, let me ask you this question. How do you think educational learning theories can impact your education? Anyone? Teaching and learning may appear to be a universal experience. After all, everyone goes to school and learns more or less the same thing, right? Well, not quite. As the prolific number of educational theories in learning suggests, there's actually an impressive variety of educational approaches to the art and science of teaching. Many of them have been pioneered by educational theorists who've studied the science of learning to determine what works best and for whom. Learning is defined as a process that brings together personal and environmental experiences and influence for acquiring, enriching, or modifying one's knowledge, skills, values, attitudes, behavior, and worldviews, notes the International Bureau of Education. Learning theories develop hypotheses that describe how this process takes place. Generally, there are five widely accepted learning theories teachers rely on, and those are: first, we have cognitive learning theory; second, behaviorism learning theory; third, constructivism learning theory; fourth, humanism learning theory; and number five, connectivism learning theory. Educational theorists, teachers, and experts believe these theories can inform successful approaches for teaching and serve as a foundation for developing lesson plans and curriculum. What are learning theories? Theories in education didn't begin in earnest until the early 20th century, but curiosity about how humans learn dates back to the ancient Greek philosophers Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. They explored whether knowledge and truth could be found within oneself or through external observation. By the 19th century, psychologists began to answer this question with scientific studies. The goal was to understand objectively how people learn and then develop teaching approaches accordingly. In the 20th century, the debate among educational theories centered on behavior theory versus cognitive psychology, or in other words, do people learn by responding to external stimuli or by using their brains to construct knowledge from external data? This guide gives you a clear understanding of how cognitive learning can positively impact your life in a corporate environment. Training of cognitive learning to employees in organizations enhances and strengthens their expertise in handling more complex tasks. So here are the things that we are going to tackle in this video lecture. What is cognitive learning? Components of cognitive learning. cognitive learning theories, which are cognitive learning theory, social cognitive theory, cognitive behavioral theory, benefits of cognitive learning strategies, and cognitive learning examples. Cognitive learning theory is largely based on the work of Jean Piaget, who rejected the idea that learners are passive and simply react to stimuli in the environment. Instead of focusing solely on observable behavior, cognitive theory seeks to explain how the mind works during the learning process. Like a computer, the mind takes in information, processes that information, and then uses that information to produce learning outcomes. Piaget's four stages of development indicate the learner's ability to understand abstract complex concepts. Cognitive learning is an active style of learning that focuses on helping you learn how to maximize your brain's potential. It makes it easier for you to connect new information with existing ideas, hence deepening your memory and retention capacity. The ability of the brain's mental processes to absorb and retain information through experience, senses, and thought is known as cognition. Employers need to expose employees to training on cognitive learning. An organization whose employees have strong cognitive skills is likely successful. Well-trained and fully engaged employees are capable of learning quickly and being highly productive by handling multiple complex tasks without the necessity of a supervisor. There is a young branch of psychology known as cognitive psychology. It is the study of one's internal processes. These are the things going on in your brain, such as thinking, attention, learning, problem solving, perception, among others. Cognitive theories of learning or cognitivism views that the mind do lots of processing of the data fed into it. Learning is a change in knowledge which is stored in memory. Learning involves the reorganization of experiences, either attaining new insights or changing old ones. Learner actively seeks to understand and process information they receive and relate this to what is already known and stored within memory. And lastly, the learner must be active. Here are some of the scenes from a classroom. First, Miss X, a kindergarten teacher, works with students to verbally communicate their feelings. She knows that at this age, they are naturally egocentric and struggle to see things from others' perspectives. Second, as Mr. X begins his unit on fractions, he incorporates manipulatives in order to provide a concrete learning experience. Third, to help students memorize the periodic table, Mrs. X co-creates various mnemonic devices with her class. Fourth, Miss X uses a graphic organizer in order to help students write paragraphs with appropriate structure. And number 5, at the start of every lesson, Mr. X asks questions to activate the prior knowledge of his students. He knows this will help to link the new learning concepts to previously retained ideas, increasing the likelihood that the new learning will be remembered. What is the link to leader in me? Teachers in Leader in Me schools teach empathy and encourage students to develop their speaking and listening skills with Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. They also provide structure and organized learning by using quality tools, and students may be taught to make their thinking visible by using hand signals during class discussions. Teachers empower students to learn through the empowered learning model, which ignites curiosity and background knowledge, then encourages hands-on investigations with specific learning targets, and ends the lesson by inviting connections. Let us now move forward to discuss the components of cognitive learning. Traditional learning mainly focuses on memorization instead of trying to achieve mastery in a particular subject. The following are fundamental aspects of cognitive learning. First, we have comprehension. For cognitive learning to be efficient and benefit you, understand the reason why you are learning a specific subject in the first place. Second, we have memory. Cognitive learning discourages cramming of information, which is very ineffective in education. Having a deep understanding of a subject improves your ability to relate new knowledge with previous experiences or information. And number three, we have application. Cognitive learning strategies help you apply new information or skills in life situations. They encourage you as you continue to develop problem-solving skills. Here is our cognitive learning loop. First, we have comprehension. Think how the topic fits into a larger picture why learning it matters. Second, memory. Relate new information with your previous experiences to build deep knowledge piece by piece instead of cramming. And third, application. Apply knowledge or skills to real life situations and reflect on topics you are learning. Let us now move forward to discuss the cognitive learning theories. First, we have cognitive learning theory. Cognitive learning theory explains how internal and external factors influence an individual's mental processes to supplement learning. Delays and difficulties in learning are seen when cognitive processes are not working regularly. These processes are such as attention, observation, retrieval from long-term memory, and categorization. Several researchers have made significant contributions to this theory. Jerome Bruner focused on how mental processes are linked to teaching. Another researcher by the name Jean Piaget recognized that the environment plays a huge role and also focused on changes that take place in the internal cognitive structure. For additional information about theory of cognitive development, it views that cognitive development was a progressive reorganization of mental processes as a result of biological maturation and environmental experiences. Its proponent is Jean Piaget. Four stages of Piaget's cognitive development are: first, sensory motor stage. Child understands through senses and movements, exhibits object permanence. Second, pre-operational. Child exhibits symbolism, animism, egocentrism. Third, concrete operational, exhibits conservation, reversibility, classification, seriation. And formal operational, adolescent exhibits abstract thinking, reasoning. So here are some of the teaching implications. Understanding of individual differences in developmental progress. Consider the stage characteristics of learners in planning learning activities. Use variety of learning activities that challenge the cognitive skills. Remember that each learner understands the learning situation based on his or her schema derived from experiences. For you to be able to better understand the four stages of Piaget's cognitive development, let us watch this video presentation taken from YouTube.
Piaget's theory argues that we have to conquer four stages of cognitive development. First, the sensory motor stage. Second, the pre-operational stage. Third, the concrete operational stage. And fourth, the formal operational stage. Only once we have gone through all the stages, at what age can vary, we are able to reach full human intelligence. 1. The sensory motor stage, ages birth to 2. In the sensory motor stage, we develop through experiences and movement our 5 senses. Our brain wants to see, hear, smell, taste and touch as much as possible. First, we start with simple reflexes, and soon after we develop our first habits. From 4 months old, we become aware of things beyond our own body, and then as we get older, we learn to do things intentionally. A key milestone is the development of working memory, or in Piaget terms, our realization of object permanence. Before that, our mum can show and then hide a teddy and we would think it's gone. After, we understand that objects continue to exist even when we can't see them. We start becoming curious about everything. We want to smell flowers, taste food, listen to sounds, and talk to strangers. To explore more, we move. We learn to sit, crawl, stand, walk, and even to run. This increased physical mobility consequently leads to increased cognitive development. But we remain egocentric, meaning we can perceive the world only from our own point of view. 2. The pre-operational stage, ages 2 to 7. Our thinking is mainly categorized through symbolic functions and intuitive thoughts. We have lots of fantasies and believe objects are alive. As we are not able to apply specific cognitive operations, Piaget calls this stage pre-operational. We learn to speak and understand that words, images, and gestures are symbols for something else. When we draw our family, we are not concerned about drawing each person to scale, but rather with their symbolic meanings. We love to play pretend, which allows us to experience something new and learn a lot. At around age 4, most of us become very curious and ask many questions. We want to know everything. We can call it the birth of primitive reasoning. Piaget calls it the intuitive age, because while we realize that we have a vast amount of knowledge, we have no idea how we acquired it. Our thinking in this stage is still pretty egocentric. We think others see the world like we do, and still don't understand that they see it differently. 3. The concrete operational stage, ages 7 to 11. We finally discover logic and we develop concrete cognitive operations, such as sorting objects in a certain order. One example of this is inductive reasoning, which means that if we see someone eating a cookie, we can draw a conclusion and then make a generalization. And we now get the concept of conservation. We understand that if we pour orange juice from a normal glass to a taller one, the amount stays the same. Our younger sister will pick the taller glass, thinking she gets more. By the same logic, we only now can understand that if 3 plus 5 equals 8, then 8 minus 3 must equal 5. Our brain learns to rearrange our thoughts, to classify and build concrete operational mental structures. For example, we now know that we can reverse an action by doing the opposite. Excited by our new mental abilities, we apply them in conversations, activities, when we learn to write, and in school. As a result, we get to know ourselves better. We begin to understand that our thoughts and feelings are unique and not necessarily those of others. That means that we learn to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. 4. The formal operational stage, age 12 plus. Once we become teenagers, we become formally operational. We now have the ability to think more rationally about abstract concepts and hypothetical events. Our advanced cognitive abilities allow us to understand abstract concepts such as success and failure, love and hate. We form a deeper understanding of our own identity and our morality. We now also think that we understand why people behave the way they behave, and as a result, can become more compassionate. Our brain can now do deductive reasoning, which means we can compare two statements and reach a logical generalization. Our new mental skills allow us to plan our life systematically and prioritize, and we can make assumptions about events that have no necessary relation to reality. We can now also philosophize and just think about thinking itself. Our new sense for our identity now also creates egocentric thoughts, and some start to see an imaginary audience watching them all the time. Piaget believed in lifelong learning, but insisted that the formal operational stage is the final stage of our cognitive development. Jean Piaget's first interests were animals, and he published his first scientific paper on albino sparrows in 1907 when he was just 11 years old. In 1920, he began working with standardized intelligence tests. He realized that younger children consistently make types of mistakes that older children do not. He concluded that they must think differently and spent the rest of his life studying the intellectual development of children.
Now, let us move forward to discuss social cognitive theory. Social cognitive theory helps us understand how people are influenced and their influence on the environment. One of the major components of social cognitive theory is observational learning. It is the process of learning others' desirable and undesirable behaviors through observation. It is a quick way of acquiring information when you individually take action. A person who demonstrates behavior for another person is known as model. This may be real people such as teachers, our peers and supervisor, or symbolic models, also known as fictional characters that influence an observer behavior. Observational learning teaches people both positive and negative behaviors. For example, a manager within a company can teach the employees how they are supposed to behave ethically and be socially conscious when interacting and dealing with rude customers. Moreover, the manager can also train his or her employees on the different procedures that they can take in case of fire or other low probability hazardous scenarios. Here is the additional information about social cultural theory. It views that social interaction is the key factor in the development of child's cognition, that a child learns from more knowledgeable other or MKO. It refers to someone who has a better understanding or a higher ability level than the learner with respect to a particular task, process, or concern, and trying to perform tasks based on his or her zone of proximal development or ZPD. The core idea of the ZPD is that a more knowledgeable person can enhance a student's learning by guiding them through a task slightly above their ability level. As the student becomes more competent, the expert gradually stops helping until the student can perform the skill by themselves. Its proponent is Vygotsky. So the teaching implications are use scaffolding and provide independent and cooperative learning activities. And now, we will be discussing cognitive behavioral theory. This theory mainly refers to our mental processes, such as our thoughts and interpretations of life events. It explains how the thoughts, feelings, and behavior of a person interact with each other. Thoughts lead to particular emotions, which in turn lead to specific behavioral responses. When we change our thoughts, we can change our emotions and then our behaviors. It also works in reverse, where changing how we behave leads to changes in our feelings and ultimately our thoughts. Let's take an example of a developer who encounters a problem in a particular sphere and automatically believes that the task is difficult for him or her right away. The employee is automatically likely to have a negative attitude towards this particular task, and his performance will likely be poor. Moving forward, let us now discuss benefits of cognitive learning. The following are the major positive effects of cognitive learning. First, we have enhances learning. Cognitive learning theory enhances lifelong learning. Workers can build upon previous ideas and apply new concepts to already existing knowledge. Second, we have boost confidence. Employees become more confident in approaching tasks as they get a deeper understanding of new topics and learn new skills. Third, we have enhances comprehension. Cognitive learning improves learners' comprehension of acquiring new information. They can develop a deeper understanding of new learning materials. Fourth, we have improves problem solving skills. Cognitive learning equips employees with the skills they need to learn effectively. They are thereby able to develop problem solving skills they can apply under challenging tasks. Fifth, we have help learn new things faster. Through the experience of learning, the employee will be able to recycle and use the same learning methods that worked previously. This will help them learn new things a lot faster as they already know what works for them when it comes to obtaining new knowledge. Six, we have teaches to form concept formation or think abstract. Cognitive learning can also teach your employees to form a range of different concepts such as easily perceiving and interpreting information that could boost creativity and lead to innovations at the workplace. And now we will discuss the cognitive learning strategies. Number 1, Learner-centered strategy. Jean Piaget termed learning as relating information to already existing knowledge, and each learner starts with their own knowledge and experience. According to his theories, learning begins with the accumulation of some basic knowledge and advancing deeper into the field with time. Piaget suggested three vital components of learning, and those are: first, we have accommodation. It is about taking new information into account by modifying what we already know. Next, we have assimilation, the arrangement of new knowledge inside our heads beside what we know. And third, equilibration, balancing what we already know with the new information that we are trying to acquire. Each company should develop their training programs with a personalized learning approach to make it engaging for their employees to achieve better results. To achieve that, L&D professionals should focus on the following points. First, we have develop and introduce their programs based on already existing knowledge. Second, provide more analogies to connect new knowledge with already existing knowledge. Third, divide learning materials into stages and maintain a logical flow of lessons taught. Fourth, provide examples or practical tasks that show how new information or principles can connect with previous knowledge or enhance it. And fifth, encourage questions and comments from trainees. Moving forward for number 2, meaningful experiences strategy. David Osobel made a clear distinction between meaningful learning and rote learning. According to him, material that was closely related to what the learner knew was meaningful and always turned out to be effective. Learners with relevant background knowledge find it easier to add new information. During the training of learners in an organization, first, there should be an emphasis on the meaningfulness of each session to the task at hand. Second, background information on new material is essential. And third, new information should be instilled in learners in a sequence to build on what is already understood. Jumping to learning through discovery strategy, Jerome Bruner is a psychologist who built his theory on top of Piaget's theory of cognitive development that was focusing on learning through discovery. His theory identified three stages of cognitive representation, which are enactive, iconic, and symbolic. Enactive, defining the representation of knowledge through actions. Iconic, being the visual summarization of images. And symbolic, which is the use of words and symbols to describe experiences. Through his study of cognitive learning in children, he suggested that they should be allowed to discover information for themselves. He believed that learners review previously learned material even as they gain new knowledge. His interpretation of cognitive learning theory in a corporate environment can be put by: first, allow employees to learn new skills and get new knowledge through new tasks and challenges. Second, challenge trainees to solve real-world problems your organization faces. And now let us move on to discuss number 4, which is personalized learning strategy. All of these strategies can be combined into one personalized learning approach. Each learner is unique and has their own experience, knowledge, and perception, which can greatly influence the way they interpret and consume new information. Creating learning experiences that fit each individual based on their own knowledge that is meaningful for their role, which encourages them to discover new solutions, can drive great results and improve their overall performance. L&D professionals should try to organize a learning environment to allow employees to learn at their own pace and with a variety of learning opportunities. A common practice in recent years to create personalized learning is the use of modern technologies. AI recommendations, learning paths, machine learning, natural language processing. For example, a digital learning assistant has the capability to recognize what the skills of the employees are, what they have learned so far, and automatically suggest to them what they should learn next. The reason why such modern technology is essential in employee development because it can offer information they need without them even anticipating the need for it. Overall, it's a fantastic tool that can ensure better employee education and eventually drive greater performance. Moreover, the company can save a significant amount of resources with a learning assistant as it can make your organization's learning environment flawless even if scalability is required. Furthermore, having the ultimate access to a range of company resources, no two employees need to learn or go through the same learning process as they can cherry pick what they want to learn from. Now you have a clear idea of what cognitive learning means. The following are various examples of cognitive learning. First, we have explicit learning. It happens when you intentionally seek knowledge to attempt and learn a new skill or processes that may be vital to your work. It requires you to be attentive and take action to acquire knowledge. An example of explicit learning would be undertaking an in-depth video editing course to understand the functionality of the software in order to be able to use it appropriately for the needs of your work. Second, implicit learning. Sometimes you passively gain new knowledge and learn some new skills. It is known as implicit learning, where you are unaware of the entire process until you realize you have retained something new. This type of learning may occur when you are working, talking, or going about your normal life. Typing fast and without looking at your keyboard is one good example of implicit learning that comes automatically over time. Number 3, meaningful learning. Meaningful learning is when you are capable of acquiring new information and relating it to past experiences. This is because this cognitive learning approach teaches employees to build transferable problem solving skills that can be applied in other areas. An example of meaningful learning is when you work in procurement and decide to take an advanced course in your department to deepen your understanding of the subject. Number 4, discovery learning. It happens when you actively seek your new knowledge by researching new concepts, processes, and subjects. For example, if someone is set the task to proofread a particular report and they need to make use of a specific tool such as Grammarly, by using this tool in hand with the manuals, This would cause them to learn the features and abilities of the tool through discovery. Number 5, receptive learning. Lectures where you sit in groups and a speaker feeds the audience with information on a specific subject is an example of receptive learning. It requires the learner to be active by asking questions and taking down short notes. During training in your workplace, this type of learning comes in handy where you get a deeper understanding of new information by being active and responsive to the speaker. Number 6, non-associative learning. It is a type of learning that enables humans to adapt to something by facing it frequently. When you get a new job at a factory where there are many machines making noise, it irritates for the first few days, but you later learn how to live with it. This is known as habituation. Sensitization is the vice versa, whereby your reaction towards something increases as you get frequent exposure towards it. This type of learning happens in your typical situations in life and work. Working in an office teaches you to be more responsive to things like telephone calls. Number 7, emotional learning. Developing emotional intelligence is crucial to help us maintain friendly relationships with friends at work and in life. Emotional learning helps people learn how to take charge of their emotions and also understand others. An employer requires to have control over their emotions so as to handle customers and also their superiors in a courteous manner. Number 8, experiential learning. Our experience in life are our best lessons. Your interactions with other people always teach you some precious life lessons. What you learn depends on how you interpreted it. For example, an intern learns by shadowing an experienced senior employer to gain experience. He acquires new skills that are relevant to his line of work. Number 9, observation learning. One of the significant components of the social cognitive theory is observational learning. It is handy among employees since it mainly involves imitation of skills from colleagues and superiors. Observing your friends or work colleagues is an efficient way to learn a new skill. Your successful manager at work can help you improve your leadership qualities as you embrace and practice his habits. And number 10, cooperative and collaborative learning. Working and learning in groups is encouraged in many situations and institutions. Cooperative learning helps bring out one's best skills and deepens the collaboration between a group of people. However, for an individual to learn this way, he or she has to be an active and equal participant and interact with fellow group members. Some companies select individuals to train on new strategies that improve the success of an organization. The trained employees are then encouraged to pass on this knowledge to their team members. The type of cognitive learning above are vital in using our brain's picture as much as possible. They make it easier for us to acquire new skills and knowledge in life. And that would be the end of our discussion about cognitive learning theory. I hope you learned a lot. Thank you for watching.